Welcome to Expedient Means with Lin Wei on Time Monk Radio. Lin currently resides in China and is a founder and head teacher of Guizhen Philocultural Society. He has extensive experience in Buddhist and Taoist meditation, Qigong, martial arts, and traditional Chinese medicine. To learn more about Lin, please visit his website at www.guizhenhui.net. Tonight, Lin will be speaking about the profound within the mundane.
Okay, thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight's show is a monologue. Basically, I'll be discussing certain points and issues concerning the idea of the profundity in the mundane. Basically, this is an important topic. It can go extremely deep, but though time is limited, I don't want to put in too much info. Basically, I don't want to overstress the subject in a short period of time. We're going to touch on basic things that we experience daily. So basically, the mundane world, what is that? Well, most people have this idea that the mundane is something that is just ordinary. Things that we've done every single day, excuse me, things that we do every day, things that we see every day, hear every day that are the same, based on our likings, things that we like, based on society around us. It's basically every single thing you have in your life since day one. Okay. Anything outside of that is not ordinary. And the non-ordinariness we consider to be somewhat special. And that kind of steers us away from what's actually going on in the world. I mean, we are covered by our senses. We base our reality on our senses. And in that, we are really not controlling what we are experiencing. You have the six senses, okay? The eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And not just talking in a Buddhist sense, because I don't believe in the term Buddhism at all. I'll say that I practice Buddhist teachings, but I don't believe in the sense of Buddhism that has become the most popular mannerism. To me, it's an education. So I'm going to use certain terms from my language, or my language source, which is of the Buddhist and or Taoist practices, even Confucian here and there. So you have the six senses, and they control our whole entire worldview. Excuse me. And how is that possible? Well, very easy. When you touch something that's what we consider soft, you say, ooh, I can put my finger into it, go a little deeper into it, and you know what? It's soft. We'll associate it. When it's hard, it's hard. If something's cold or hot, we do the same thing. That's with touch. Now we have taste, and we have the rest of our senses. We create this whole entire worldview, and then we get bored with it, and then we feel we can't do anything with it because, well, you can't change it. That's what most people feel like. And if we can't change it, then we're stuck, or we can't even tell we're stuck. We're just saying that's the way life is. It's very interesting how we assume that life is exactly just the way it is in the manner that we experience it, or in the general idea of how most people experience it. So I'll call that mundanity. I'll call that the mundane. Because we create viewpoints on the things we experience through our six senses, because we do that, we kind of put ourselves in our own little movie. A movie that every single person in this world is sharing. Or not watching, but part of. I believe it was Shakespeare who said, I believe it was, I don't make that a true statement, it's possible I'm wrong. The world's a stage and I'm just a player. Okay? Pretty much, that's a cool idea to conceive of, because if we take all our emotional aspects and our own worldviews, and you put them onto somebody, they will eventually get used to that and start acting acting their life out based on those things you gave them. We do that to ourselves, actually. So we cannot really tell what life is truly like because we are, I'm not going to say covered, but we are living in the utilization of our senses and believing it to be the way it is, real. We believe it to be real, so we believe that it is that way. Like I said before, the table is hard or soft, or something is hot or cold. We base our reality on those experiences. So our everyday workings kind of get us bored. But it's not that the everyday workings get us bored. It is our viewpoints about the everyday things that we find boring. Our views, based on our experiences of things in the past, create this world idea for us, world view about the world, about the things that we experience, and then thus we create another view about it. And then we have emotion to it. And then we conclude that it is just this way. In such, either we don't bother with certain things, or we just accept them and go ahead with them the way they are. It's sad that we cannot step out of that little box we create. And even if we accept, and we're very diverse, we accept things around us, accept everybody else's viewpoints, we're still going or flowing in our own specific ideas. And that's the sad part. So anything out of that idea either gets rejected, or put down. Maybe accepted still, but still put down. The people kind of deter away from going deeper. And now let's go to the next idea here. Within this first part we just discussed, the next idea is those who actually do go deeper. What is their life like? What are they thinking? To actually be able to do such things as step out of the emotional or the sixth sense box, as I'll call it. Interesting indeed. Because those who do step out of the norm, or what is considered the norm, are either shunned or put on a pedestal. And both are no good. And both are just fine. Well, let's go to the second one. They're put on a pedestal, seen as pioneers or great thinkers, or just someone with something really interesting, and people flock to them. Over time, that person, and it has happened a lot in our history, a person put on a high pedestal is usually turns to greed. Some point later, they're doing things for money, they're saying things for money, writing books just for the sake of getting money. I mean, people will read their books because of who they are or what people think they are. So we go to the next one, the first one before, which was being shunned. They're totally disregarded as being crazy. And then when they're dead, people look back at what they wrote and say, that person was great. But now you don't have someone to be an example for you. 2 or 3 generations later, this person's gone, and then you don't have an example. So what they were thinking really has no use. You can only theorize about things. Now, what if we step into the present, well, the quote-unquote present, and we see that there are people living all around us that have ideas to step out of their little sixth sense box, their world based on six senses. They want to jump out of it. They want to discover something else. So then you have those who create a specific lifestyle. This lifestyle is based literally on ideas, philosophical ideas or little teachings here and there on what spirituality would be, or what something more meaningful would mean or would be in everyone's daily life. And then they create a lifestyle about it. And they are basically those those leading as an example for others to follow. Now, it's good that they're jumping out of the box, but Sometimes, or most times, the only information about profound experiences is commercial philosophical teachings, stuff you get in bookstores, which is not too bad. If it wasn't for those bookstores, I mean, we probably would not get introduced in thinking out of this box. But there's sometimes a little too much involved with, going a little overboard, is what I'm saying, when it comes to looking deep. We build up this idea that we have to set aside a quiet time, that we have to, fill the popular idea of getting this great spiritual teacher, excuse me, and help them along, have them help us along our way. Going through the basic ideas or the usual ideas of finding a guru, finding someone to lead us, guide us in our spiritual paths into something more deeper. And then it's those who are looking for the more, well, I'll use the word, profound ideas in just our everyday life. And they'll pick up some type of a cultivation practice, be it any type of religious educational practice or religious practice or energetic practice, cultivating the mind and energy and body, whatnot. But they're still creating a discriminating thought based on this is the normal, this is the usual mundane, and this is the profound. Well, in truth, it is everything I started up from the beginning of this discussion, all up to just now, is based on relative thinking. It's discriminating mind. It's not true at all. It happens, it's an experience that people go through. But that is not actually the reality of anything. And I'm not one to tell you what the reality is and isn't. But as long as I know that my mind is still floating around with discriminating thoughts, I have not tasted one bit the true reality out there. Does it exist? I only heard it through other supposed enlightened people, through the sutras of the Buddhist teachings and through immortals' practices, and their writings and Taoist texts. They say it's there. I can't admit that I've tasted it, or I've saw it, or I've even experienced it. Why? Because it doesn't matter to you if I did or not. For example, if you became enlightened, you telling somebody, hey man, let's have some coffee, I got something to tell you, man, I'm enlightened. That's not going to do anything for the other person. It's probably going to have them go, no way, or say like, oh, that's nice. Okay, so what are you doing tomorrow? It doesn't matter. If you get enlightened, that's your business. It doesn't help anybody, because just because one is enlightened doesn't mean they have the skill and means to teach another person how to get there too. That's important. Because once you tasted a little bit of the true world, the true sense or the true reality out there, we'll just put in quotes just for the sake of saying, you still have cultivation to go through. Epiphanies here and there don't make anything. That's like you put a seed in the soil and all of a sudden you see something sprouting. That's not the full plant. There's no fruit on there or there's no flower yet. You shouldn't get excited. You'd be like, okay, good. Something's happening. That's enough. The small growth is a marker, quote unquote. But it's a big growth if you're expecting. You're like, oh, it happened. So epiphanies aren't really anything useful. Make you feel good here and there, but they're not useful. And it's nothing outside of the mundane. So, when we're looking at the discriminating mind, we're telling ourselves, I'm putting a head on top of a head on top of a head. It's more clothes on top of more clothes on top of more clothes. What happens when you wear a lot of clothes, especially in the summer? You get hot as hell and you get frustrated and your attitude gets crazy and your temper goes all over the place and you're just hard to deal with because you're hot. Inside is hot, your skin is hot, your body is hot, your head is hot. Everything is just becoming very uncomfortable. Well, that's what it's like for the majority of all of us, including myself. We put a head on top of a head on top of a head. Means we're adding so much false thinking. When we add so much false thinking, we get frustrated with the world and we assume that we need to step out of it. You can never step out of the world. I mean, physically, Earth, you probably can, jump on a spaceship and you're out. But you still carry the world in the mind. You never leave that world. So the mundane and the profound is based on your mind. What you assume is the mundane will be that way. And what you assume it to be as will be that way. What you assume the profound to be will be that way as well. So if I think, oh, today I have to get up early in the morning, go out and get breakfast, come back home, eat, and then 20 minutes later go to the office, go to work. I do that every single morning, actually. I go to my office to prepare my lessons to teach my classes. I get up 6 o'clock, 5:30, 5 o'clock, depending. Then I do this routine 7 days a week. From young teen, I got up 5:30 in the morning, all until I was 29 years old. Then I opened my own cultivation school in Brooklyn, New York, and I got up an extra hour later because it's exhausting running your own business, especially a school. But I've done this routine for years without question. And the reason I'm able to do it is because I know it's just something that needs to be done. That's it. There is no reason to describe it as, it's just the ordinary things I got to do every day. If I'm doing that, then I'm literally putting myself down. Not that the self is actually something you want to put on a pedestal either. But because it comes from you, when you put yourself put yourself down or hate on what you're experiencing daily, you're really hurting yourself. And that is very profound to someone who probably has never heard of that idea before. Or it could be very basic to someone who is very well versed with this kind of direction we're going. You see, we say before the mundane and profound is based on our discriminating mind. So, if I think what I do every day is so mundane, is useless or boring or whatever, then my life experience will be exactly what I assume. But I've experienced that feeling for so long, eventually I would think it is true. As Master Shanhua Sangren, just Venerable Master Shanhua of the City of 10,000 Buddhas in California, he once said in his commentary in the Six Patriarchs Diamond Platform Sutra, false, false, true, 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 false. And I'm taking this sentence out of context. But basically it's false, false, true, 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 false. Everyone experiences the false so many times they think it's so true. And then when you tell them the truth, they don't believe it. They believe it's false. People can't tell the difference. That's why it's confusing to someone, for everybody to say, or anyone to listen to someone who says, I know the truth, let me tell you the truth. It's hard. It's confusing. You can't do that. So for those who are touching the stream of enlightenment there, if you're getting something, don't even bother telling people. Maybe your own cultivation family, your cultivation friends or brothers and sisters of cultivation. You can discuss it with them. I think blah, 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 blah. Could this be blah, blah, blah? I need certification, blah, blah, blah. But don't go around telling people, just family, friends, hey, I think I'm enlightened. That doesn't help you. Anyway, everything we do in every moment of our lives is neither neither profound or mundane. It's neither. Why? Because in truth, and I'm not going to say it's the overall truth, in truth, in the manner of non-discrimination, it just is. Do you understand that? It just is. When things are with a covering, an emotion, a thought, it changes. It doesn't change its original way, it changes your way. So that tree, that's the tree leaves that are blowing in the wind, okay, are just blowing in the wind. But to someone who is facing maybe emotional distress, sees that tree with all those branches and leaves blowing in the wind, all of a sudden feeling a state of peace, to them that's extremely profound. That's whoa, that's unbelievable. I was just sitting there in the park and I was so depressed, and then this wind came, and then I looked up and this tree was blowing, and it somehow was so magical that it made me feel so at peace. They say it's so profound. But really, if they were not there at that moment, that tree, the branches and the leaves would still be blowing in the wind. It would still be just the way it is. We make it be something. We move our minds. We are the ones doing all this mess of, this is more important than that. You know, the most deepest spiritual, or the most profane spiritual principle only exists. It only exists because why? Because people think it does. People assume differently. The difference between a spiritual life and a non-spiritual life is really just a person's thoughts. In truth, these things aren't even a concern. I'm gonna discuss something a little bit about this exact topic, and this was based on a talk Master Xu Yun, Empty Cloud, which is the teacher to Master Xuanhua. Okay, he's a Chan and a Chan teacher, very, very, very well cultivated monk. And this is a little excerpt from discussions he had, and I thought this would be very, 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 very good. Starting quotes, Xu Yun says, "Dear friends, every human being possesses two self-natures, an apparent one and a real one. The apparent one is our small self or ego, which is everywhere different from all other small selves. The real one is our great Buddha self, which is everywhere the same. Our small self exists in the apparent world, the world of samsara. Our Buddha self exists in the real world, the world of nirvana. Both worlds are located in the same place." In the Heart Sutra, we read, "Form is not different from emptiness, and emptiness is not different from form." Everyone wants to know, how can samsara and nirvana be the same? How can illusion be the same as reality? How can I be me and the Buddha too? These are good questions. Every Buddhist needs to know the answer to them. The answer lies in the way we perceive reality. If we perceive reality directly, we see it in its nirvanic purity. If we perceive it indirectly through our ego consciousness, we see it in its samsaric distortion. End quotes. Isn't that funny? I think it's hilarious. When I read this, I was laughing my ass off in my office, and all my coworkers were looking at me going, whoa, this guy's crazy. But it's just that way. Well, let's put it this way. Because of our constant false thinking, because of our thinking mannerisms, we're always thinking, always thinking. And you say, well, I'm not thinking, I'm feeling. Who told you that nonsense? Thought and emotion arise at the same. They are the same. If I have a feeling, I'll have thoughts about it. If you have that loving feeling, you'll have thoughts about that loving feeling, no matter where it came from, or where you assume it came from. And once you start thinking of something, you start having that energetic manifestation that it's a feeling. For those who are, addicted to sex, when you start thinking about sex, you're definitely going to start feeling like you want it. We'll just leave it at that. Okay? So through our ego consciousness here is our thinking mind, our discriminating mind, that mind that says, I am. A lot of people scream out the big I am. That's a big ego. Okay? This discriminating mind, let's put it this way, is like clouds in the sky. Don't think the sky as the mind. because we have to go deeper. But for the time being, we'll just say this. Clouds in the sky, there's going to be clouds in the sky. They'll fly back and forth or whatever they do. And then they'll dissipate. And then they'll come back again. And then they'll dissipate. And then they'll come back again. That's our thinking mind. That's what happens. Our thoughts just keep coming and going and coming and going, like guests in a hotel. Okay? And we just chase after them. And we build our world on these thoughts. We never actually see the true experience or the true mannerism of things. And don't think it's some spiritual, great, enlightened, wonderful, blissful state. It's not. The most profound thing in your life is exactly what you're doing, exactly where you are, exactly who you're meeting, exactly how everything pans out in your life. Why is it that way? Because we assume it's not. When you assume that life is just boring and mundane and nothing profound happens to you, that's exactly what you'll see. And when you think the profound is all over the world, that's exactly what you'll see. I'm telling you, or begging you, don't do either of them. When you see the profound in everything, there's no more profundity. When you see the mundane in everything, it's just that way. There's no mundanity. It's just the way things are. That's how you'll say it. But when I say it is just the way things are, I don't mean the mundane or the profound. I mean, just the way it is means neither profound nor mundane. It's not any of those. What is the world without our views? Can you do that? We should try to practice investigating this idea. The world without our views, what would it be like? What is the world without our views? What would that do? One morning I sat outside in my backyard and I was just thinking. And when I was thinking, all that came through my mind was, I'm actually not seeing, at that time, this thinking is happening. I'm actually not seeing what's happening. And I laughed at myself and I said, what would the world be like if I didn't hold the viewpoints I did about it? And all of a sudden, it was as though something turned on inside, illuminated inside. I'm sharing a little experience with you. It doesn't mean I'm anything special. I'm not. It's just a passing state, you know? And all of a sudden, this light went on inside. And it felt like everything just became so cool, relaxed, and that heaviness in the body just disappeared. And it hit me. Well, like that, literally, from the inside out. The trees were the trees. The gate in front of me was the gate in front of me. And everything else beyond that was everything else beyond it. There was not 1 ounce of me in any of those things. And then it occurred, oh my goodness, all what I thought was stressful, all what I thought was happy, doesn't even matter. Why? Simply because I'm the one that made it that way. Situations will be the way they are, happy or sad, evil or, positive. It don't matter. Not in the sense of, it doesn't matter what I do. I mean, it doesn't matter because we don't need to conceive of them to be that way. It just is that way. We add to it. For the hunter going out looking for his food, that's all he can do is hunt for his food. That way of living is exactly great. It doesn't matter if there's an endangered species list and that animal is based on it. The animal is listed as an endangered species. He's hungry. He'll be endangered if he doesn't eat. So, do you see this give and take here? It's, I give something based on my own thinking. I get back exactly what I assume. So, we cut out this, I need to go and find this great, wonderful peace. We cut that out because the great, wonderful peace is exactly there or wherever you are. Everything you do is always neither profound or mundane. It's just what you do. I have people ask me, oh, just you and your wife are raising your son. That must be some hard work. So what are you talking about? Oh, you got to wake up at night. Actually, no, I don't. Neither does she. Before that baby was born, I said, while he was still in the womb, I said, you sleep when we sleep, you wake when we wake. When you're really hungry, you cry, and when you need to change the diapers, you just let us know. Every other time, you're on your own. In the sense of you're crying in between meals. If your arm's not broken, if your head's not bleeding, you just want a hug is okay. But anything else, if you're not in any crazy danger, don't bother. And the kid does just that. People are like, wow, that's amazing. It's not amazing. You'd say what you want and you get what you receive. That's it. You get exactly what you're looking for. I receive and I get what I received. For me, taking care of a child or doing what I do is just exactly what is to be done, not what has to be done. It is to be done. It's too different. So when you step out in the morning, you go to work in the morning, you're leaving work in the afternoon, you're sitting outside late at night, and you're thinking all these things of what happened to you the day or what you're going to be doing the day and all the stresses you'll face or what you did face during the day, okay? And that calmness that says, I don't need to worry about this for the next few hours, that calmness never left you. Because how do you know that? You know that simply because when you come back to the point of not having to interfere with the world or get involved with the world later or throughout the day, there's a peace or that sense of calmness that's there that lets you know it's always there. The stresses you face every day are because of your own mind. That calmness you feel at the end of the day is because you face the stresses all day long. So you see how the relativity plays out? The yin and the yang plays out all the times. And if we base our world on that yin and yang, okay, that relative exchange of the good and the bad or like and dislike or whatnot, we'll just be running on this cycle all the time. We'll never get out of it. We'll never see. We'll get tastes of it here and there, little bits, but we'll never really immerse ourselves into that, what we'll say is profound. We'll just say profound only because we have the mundane. We have the illusion, and then you have the reality. How do we do that? How do we find this disappearance of the mundane and the profound thinking so we don't go chasing our tail or go chasing people who claim to be great masters or read a book and assume we got it and then find that our lives really didn't change a few months later down the line? What do we do? How can we exercise the non-discriminating mind? I'll just put it that way. Well, it's fairly simple. Exercising the non-discriminating mind. I'm just using the word exercise the non-discriminating mind. But exercising it or practicing or cultivating the skill or the awareness or the realization or getting that feel where there is no left or right, up and down. Of course, you'll know generally what things are, but you won't be putting your emotions, more thoughts, and whatnot to it. Then it just remains exactly what it was. It doesn't have your colorful attitude to it. How do you do that? Very simple. Wherever you are, pick something to look at. Simply pick something to look at. Don't look at the computer because it's going to hurt your eyes, unless it's off. Just pick something random. And when you look at it, try to listen. What happens when you look at it? What are you listening to? Well, you're listening to what thoughts arise when an object reaches your eye's sense. Okay? And I say eyes sense. I don't say seeing. Because I don't believe seeing is with the eyes. That's another discussion sometime later. Seeing is something else. So anyway, when something reaches your eyes, What is the thought that comes into your mind? The space in between that object and your seeing, okay, the time it takes for that thought to arise, what is in between? That's how we're going to understand. You want to go into the space between when the object reaches your eyes to your discriminating time, the time your mind starts to discriminate on it. What is that? What is that feeling? The more you can start, okay, looking at things without discriminating on them and not just like looking and going, okay, I'm not thinking about what that is. No, it's not that. It's not that at all. Think of when you first wake up in the morning, before you start rubbing your eyes and before you start stretching and going, oh crap, I got to get out of bed today. Before you do that, in the moment, it's just that you know you are waking up right before you say, I'm getting up now. Oh man, or just right before you know it's time to get out of bed. What is that state of calmness? What is that state of nothing going on in there? What is that? Okay? Right before your mind clicks on the on switch and goes, click, okay, start thinking, what are you going to do today? What are you going to wear? And how much coffee you want to drink today? And all that stuff. Okay? So you pick an object, you observe it. You watch it, you look at it, and don't stare at it for 2 hours. It's pointless. Once you start having a discriminating thought, take yourself away from it. Look away. Then look back. Then look away. Every time you start having the discriminating function start again, turn away from it. You want to practice when a car passes you by, not to go, oh, that's a nice car, that's an ugly car, look at those cars, or whatever. You don't want to start thinking about things. Just leave it there. You look, it's there. That's it. You start to cut out that internal dialogue. Then you realize the world is just the world. We are the ones that make it what we think we make it. But we never actually see the world as it really is. So, in the manner of speaking profound and mundane, it's fairly simple. Your ideas about the world are simply your own ideas. Whatever comes out of those ideas, basically the non-ordinary mannerisms we'll consider to be mundane, profound. We'll think those special because we only get tidbits of it, tastes of it. That's why we consider things to be profound. They don't happen constantly. But if you were constantly able to have what you consider profound in your life, it will eventually become your mundane experiences. Quick example, someone who never seen ghosts before decides they want to see a ghost. They actually try to learn an actual true method to open up the eyes in a mannerism to see spirits or ghosts or demons or angels or whatever. So what happens? They don't succeed the first 3 months, the first year, maybe 2 years down the line. Somehow along the way, they start to see little things flying around very quickly in spurts. And they're going, oh man, I just saw something fly right past me. You know, they can't really make it out. Eventually, their skill gets stronger, and they keep focusing on developing those eyes. Now they can see these spirits, these ghosts, little, fairies and whatnot. Okay? They start seeing these little things flying around. Or big things. Maybe they see dragons. Maybe they see other things. But it becomes something so normal for them that they don't go, oh, wow, that's so cool. You see that? It just becomes something normal. Kind of like how I just saw a friend in the street and I go, hey, how you doing? It's like they'll see a ghost and go, oh, yeah, there it goes. The profound thus becomes mundane. And then in that normal working where the person is going through their life always seeing those realms, right before them, then all of a sudden one day it stops. They go, whoa, what happened? The ordinary mannerism of the world, or what they considered to be ordinary, has come back again. And now that's special because they lost the flavor. Okay? So it's basically like that. Things are just as is. We make them more. It doesn't matter what we can do. It's always going to be just the way It is. And what is that way? Take your views away from it. Then you'll actually know the way. So you can use the example or the exercise, looking at something, and once you have a thought about it, turn away from it. But don't stare at it like a vegetable either, you know? Don't stare at it like what a vegetable does, you know? It grows out of the ground and just stands there and grows and just stays there. Don't do that. You're staring, but you're not like hawking over it. You know, you're not throwing your emotion on it. You're just watching it. What happens in your mind? That's your investigation. Okay? Same thing goes. If you're meditating and you're focusing on whatever method you're focusing on and you start having a false thought, well, you won't sit there and go, if you sit there and go, why am I thinking now? Oh, man, you actually weren't anywhere close to getting in a state that was conducive to your practice. Okay? You're very far away from that. If you're sitting in meditation and you're doing your practice, whatever it is that you're practicing, and you actually are able to recognize that you had a false thought, like, oh, I have false thinking. Let me stop. And you know, you actually weren't anywhere into a deep concentration. You're still in the workings of the discriminating mind. Okay? So you really have to think, where am I getting with all my practice? Where am I getting with, you know, what I do with my daily life experiences? You don't have to get anywhere. You don't have to do anything in that aspect. Just do what you do. Means if you're a cultivator, you cultivate. If you have a company to run, you run that company. If you get frustrated with yourself, that's your problem. And in that, we go into the next aspect, which is, what do I do, okay, that makes my life better or worse? We realize that the most highest teaching one can ever receive to allow them to free themselves from the bounds of their six senses, the binding of their six senses, is simply just to not bother, or how do I say, not bother worrying about what they do and what they don't do and what other people do to them. Very easy. Relax and realize what you do is exactly what's needed for you to break free from your senses. We can go very far with that. And I'll give you a little method. You know, or a little commentary on this method, okay? We live our lives experiencing what we do, doing the work we do, going through all that we go through every single day with our family, friends, and whatnot. All our thinking about what we experience, of course, we know we said before, is all based on our own mind. We want to look for something deeper, and we want to jump out of what we're doing. Don't. Stay with what you're doing. Do you realize that you doing what you do, the same thing every single day, is so magical, so profound in this aspect, that you don't even realize that you got a pearl sewn right into your, right into your clothes. You have no clue. What is that pearl? We're not talking about the pearl of wisdom here. It's different. I'm using the same saying, but for something different. What is the pearl? The pearl is your teaching. The pearl is the method. That's what I'm talking about. The expedient means to understanding. See, some people don't feel like they have a great mission, or they don't feel very important to this world. Feel like, oh, what I do is not important. I'm just a computer tech, or a computer programmer, or, I write all day long, articles or research, whatever. They don't feel like it's so much of a great thing to change the world. Don't bother changing the world. Change your mind. The world changes. On the grander scale, you need a lot of people to change their mind for the world to truly change to a different idea. But you personally, you're not in flux. You're not in flux or in relation directly to, the billions of people on this planet. In your lifetime, you probably only meet a few thousand people, and only a few become good friends. So really, just change your own mind. What you do every day, just ask yourself one thing. Very simple question. What am I doing? That's all. What am I doing? And you go to work and you have to sit in front of that computer, just go, and you start to feel upset or a little bored or a little frustrated or whatever. Just ask yourself, what am I doing? Don't feed the, well, I should be like this and I should be like that. That's your ego. Anything that goes into something fulfilling a self or a viewpoint that fulfills anything, any type of satisfaction, that is your ego. And if you're going to do that, it's superficial. You're not going to get anywhere. You'll get the same thing you've always gotten. But when you go into what am I doing, it's different because you're looking at the I, you're looking at the doing and the what. Put the I first. Because if there was no I, you wouldn't have a what and doing. Okay? So you have the what am I doing? You have the I am or the I. Okay? Look at that. Then you realize I'm in an office. I'm typing work or typing stuff or answering phones. Fine, do it. That's all it is. The boss didn't tell you, okay, you're going to sit down, answer phones. I want you to be frustrated because that's part of your job. You're going to get headaches. Okay, you need to get headaches because I'm not going to pay you unless you get headaches. And sickness, yes, you get sick leave, and we pay you for sick leave, so make sure you get sick. The boss will say that, but that's what happens to you because you make it happen. We make our frustrations, we make our problems. That's what's so profound. This is what I'm trying to say this whole time. Everything we do is only based on ourselves. And the most profound thing is that we have no clue that we do it to ourselves. And the most mundane aspect is that we think that's the only thing we can deal with, that we can only do these things. So you don't have to open your eyes. You don't have to read some spiritual self-help books. You don't have to go out and find great teachers. But it's really important that if you do decide to cultivate, to get a teacher. But if you're not, and you're just sitting there going, I just want to clear up my mind a little bit, fine. Then realize that the most special things is exactly what you're experiencing. That's the beauty of our life, of our world. It's that the special things are already here. Nothing is not special. Everything is special. Why? Because we already assume things are not special. That's why it's special. When things are special all the time, it's no longer special. You only know them based on relativity. So we're going to use relativity to destroy relativity. Okay, fire with fire. Play it nice and calm and work on small things. Paper, cups, chairs, tables, whatever, pictures. And you break the discriminating mind by utilizing that if you're not going to sit in meditation. Another good way to help with breaking through into realizing what you experience is just based on your own mind is take a picture of something that happened take out a picture of something that happened to you in your past. Something maybe a ex-girlfriend or boyfriend or ex-wife or ex-husband, or different memories that you're fond of or even that you're not fond of. Take them out and look at them. What's the emotions you have based on those? We give ourselves those emotions. We associated our emotional high point or low point with that situation, and when we see a picture that brings that memory out, it also brings out our emotions and our thoughts. You can exercise with that too and can just go a little bit more personal. And it'll open your eyes, see the magic that is in our world. It's nothing too fluffy and, it's not. But it is when it's not consistent in your life. But it's always there. Always there. So I hope you all really get an idea. I mean, some things I've repeated in a different way. Some things I touched just a short bit on. But the main idea of this discourse, the main idea of this little lecture here, is to let you all know that the great grand scheme of things is just in your every single daily workings. Every single day that you do things, every single day you are breathing, everything you're doing, it's special because you think it's not special. And when you think it's special, it's not special. We go around in this cycle of relativity all the time. that we don't see the great workings because we're covering ourselves up with our false thinking. Well, hope you all got something out of this. I'm sure I did. Even though as we're talking, I'm still thinking. And what am I thinking? This is the funny part about this conversation. This is a one-sided conversation, but there's two of us talking. I'm talking, and then inside, there's thoughts going on. And I'm laughing at myself while I'm speaking because I'm understanding that the flip side, or the relative side of things, is only based on our own thoughts. What we can conceive of is what we'll experience. So we can take that and go into deeper discussion with ourselves, and then cut out the internal dialogue as we go further into breaking through a discriminating mind. Thank you very much, and I hope you all enjoyed this little discourse.
Thank you for listening to Expedient Means with Lin Wei on Time Monk Radio. Please be sure to join us next week as we have a discussion centered around tonight's discourse. To quote the final chapter of the Tao Te Ching, the sage does not accumulate. The more he assists others, the more he possesses. The more he gives to others, the more he gains.